What's going on, everyone? So, the Dallas Mavericks have officially eliminated the Minnesota Timberwolves. Will take on our arch rival, the Boston Celtics. What a game by Dallas, particularly Luka and Kyrie. I mean, Luka is just, the man is ridiculous. Like, the guy is just next level. Kyrie Irving also. And look, if I'm being honest, I did not really see Dallas coming, right? I did not think, I mean, there were times throughout the season where it looked like they could miss the playoffs again, right? And the Kyrie and Luka tandem just wasn't like at times it was just so clunky and it looked like it was just basically you go, I go. And at times it still kind of is, right? But they've really worked it out. They really flushed it out. One of the things that I talked about heavily, particularly on As It Stands Sports, which if you're not subscribed to As It Stands Sports, go subscribe to As It Stands Sports. But one of the things that I highlighted heavily was that like I didn't necessarily like exactly how Dallas shaped up their roster. Grant Williams was like their big acquisition. I was like, I'm not really sold on him. I still think that they need a couple pieces. Well, they went and got those pieces, right? Daniel Gafford has been absolutely impressive for them. You have PJ Washington, he's been spectacular on both sides of the basketball. And that guy hits like every big shot. Like that guy will have like 2 points going in the fourth quarter, like 2 minutes left. And then they need a big bucket. And who hits it? Boom, it's him. Every single time. But there was even like a stretch where like Kyrie and Luka combined nearly had as many points total as the Minnesota Timberwolves. And Luka ended up finishing with 36, 10, and 5. Kyrie with 36, 4, and 5. Again, just two absolutely spectacular players. And like I said, they've really seemed to have figured it out, right? Again, it is kind of still like, hey, Luka goes to the bench. Kyrie, your time to shine. But their role players have really bought in. On the defense side in particular, the dirty work, the hustle plays, something that I've talked about heavily with the Lakers, right? Like we need the hustle work. We need those guys that are willing to go and do the gritty work, right? The guys that are willing to sacrifice their bodies, chase down loose balls, right? Like hustle, keep balls alive. We need to find those players because Dallas has really flushed that out, especially with guys like Derrick Jones Jr. Think like he was with Miami and Chicago and was just like riding the pine. He was like the 15th guy, just like a bench warmer. And he's really found and carved out a role, been huge for them. I mean, look at Tim Hardaway Jr. was like their second best player last year, and he's not even playing. Like he's like completely fallen out of the rotation because Dallas just they've really kind of figured out their tight knit rotation. They're not running 8-9 guys. They're keeping it really tight. Like a couple guys will get minutes here and there, but for the most part, they're really reliant on like 6-7 guys, which is again something that kind of highlighted with the Lakers, right? I've talked about like I'm not opposed to go getting that other guy, that third star, even if it's just like a DeJounte Murray or something, but even like a Trey or ideally a Donovan Mitchell, right? Because the Lakers, all they need is like 3 or 4 guys beyond that, and they could be right there. I mean, even Boston is like 6 guys, maybe on occasion. Pritchard, have like a moment or something, but for the most part, they're running 5 or 6 guys. Same thing with Dallas. Minnesota was even only running like 7 guys, really. Like these teams, Denver is another team, right? These teams aren't like incredibly deep. They just have like this 5-man unit that is overly impressive, and they got that 1 or 2 guys off the bench that is really just able to capitalize and just be impressive and big. But now they go to take on the Boston Celtics. Let's go Mavs, right? Please do not let Boston beat them. Now, if I'm being honest, Boston should win this series. Right? They have the perfect components to match up, right? And this is what these playoffs have been about, matchups in particular. You look at Minnesota, they matched up perfectly to Denver, right? And then you look at Dallas, and they just matched up perfectly, particularly that rim protection, how they were able to kind of contain Anthony Edwards. Luka and Kyrie even were buying in on the defensive side of things. But Boston, they have, Jaylen Brown. In particular, Jayson Tatum, who's big and strong and physical, or he can be, right? Those are 2 guys that can kind of slow down and make things difficult for Luka. Again, you're never going to stop Luka, but I do believe that you can kind of, wear him down over the course of a series and, have him have, not perfect nights, right? Same thing with Kyrie. They have Drew Holiday, Derek White. Right? They can even throw a Jaylen Brown or Jayson Tatum on him if he's going off. Right? So they have these versatile defensive guys that they can switch on. But again, I default to I cannot believe in Boston until they prove to me otherwise. Boston loves to just get away from what works. They love to just completely shoot themselves out of games. They love to just play and get away from how to have success with that current roster. Kristaps Porzingis, I would imagine, is going to be back and healthy. He was supposed to come back for game 4, but they pretty much had that series wrapped up, so they gave him some rest. Now he's going to have like 9 days by the time they have their game. Dallas, they should be fully healthy. Luka's kind of been dealing with the little nagging thing. He's going to get a week off in between now and the playoffs. So both teams should be healthy. Both teams should be good to go. I think Dallas has the coaching advantage, right? And to me, it's going to come down to because Dallas is just much more predictable, which is my concern. Dallas is just far more predictable, right? It's pretty much Kyrie and Luka, where Boston, they're more like any given night somebody else can beat you. Right? I mean, even Horford had a game, last series where he dropped 7 threes or something like that, right? So it's like Derek White can go off and drop 25 plus. Drew Holiday, we know, can do that. Kristaps Porzingis, Jaylen Brown, Jayson Tatum. So they're a little bit more hard to deal with, in my opinion, where it's going to come down to, can Boston kind of contain and force other guys to step up? And then from a Dallas standpoint, it's like, can those other guys step up? They're going to need more from PJ Washington. They're going to need guys that hit big shots, key shots. If it's all just Kyrie and Luka, I just think Boston beats them. I don't necessarily think that they run away with it. I don't think that this is going to be like a 5-game series either way. I think this is more like a 6 or 7-game series. But if I'm being honest, right, remove my hatred, remove my bias, like you got to kind of lean Boston here. However, I trust Dallas in tight games more than Boston, right? So if all these games are tight and they're close, I think Dallas wins all those games, right? Because Kyrie and Luka are going to close and they're going to show up and they're going to do what they need to do. Boston at times in tight games, it's almost like they don't know who to go to. They don't know who to trust. They don't they almost like they don't know what the play design is. They don't know how to properly execute. Like their execution is not great in crunch time. Turning the ball over, they're just taking poor shots, right? Like, and where I think Dallas, they know what the execution is. They know what the role is. And I think Dallas does match up well to Boston. I think they do have the athleticism. They do have the defense, perimeter guys. Also, Boston's been the worst pick and roll defense in the playoffs. Now, a lot of that has been without Kristaps Porzingis, but that is something to definitely watch in this series. There is a lot of arguments for Dallas. Boston just has more talent, and if they play the way that they can play and they should play, then they win. I like the coaching advantage with Jason Kidd over Joe Mazzulla. I'm not a big fan of Joe Mazzulla. I don't think he's a very good coach. He's been much better this year, to his credit. Last year, I mean, he was arguably the worst coach in the league. He was awful last year. But this year, he has kind of sewed up a couple things and has been better in that regard. But still, I kind of lean towards Dallas in certain key areas. And can the role guys step up? But more than anything, again, if I have to bet on it, I'd have to bet Boston. But Luka is such a soul snatcher, and Boston is notorious for just crumbling when they have their soul snatch. It's one of the reasons why Golden State beat them in the finals, 2 years ago, right? Was because Boston had it. It was done. They should have ran through Golden State. And then Golden State just kept doing what they were doing, and Boston does what they always do. Get away from what's working. They start to panic. They end up folding, and boom, soul snatched. Your brother's soul is mine, for those that get the reference. But, it's just one of these things. And Luka is probably the best in the league at that. Just completely taking guys out of run. So to me, it's like, can he do that? In particular, Jayson Tatum. Jayson Tatum is known to just completely go ghost, right? How many times have we seen Jayson Tatum with 30 through 3 quarters and then just might as well not even be on the basketball court in the fourth, right? So to me, it's like Dallas has some things, and I really want Dallas to win. And again, I wouldn't be shocked if they did, but Boston should win it in 6 or 7. But again, go Dallas, right? Please, I've said from day one, anyone but Boston, right? Got to keep that tie still a tie. Give the Lakers a chance next year. But it's just, I still just default to Boston loves to beat themselves. I would not be shocked if game one, Dallas wins and puts all the pressure on Boston, right? And Boston hasn't been challenged yet. Yeah, they lost a game, in Boston, but that was more them losing. Like, I think bare minimum Dallas wins 2 games. I think you'll have the game where Boston just beats themselves, and then I think you'll have the game where like Luka and Kyrie just go off and just like Boston has no answer, right? Or the team as a whole just goes off, Boston has no answer. I think Dallas wins at least 2 games. Can they win those other 2? Can Boston drop another one, and can Luka and Kyrie have that other game where they just go off, right? If this gets to a game 7, I'm actually pretty confident that Dallas wins. I just trust Kyrie and Luka in a game 7 situation to just do whatever they have to do to go win that game. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if they dropped 100 collectively, right? Like, you know where all the shots are coming from. You know where everything's going. I wouldn't be shocked. Like, if this goes, I think Boston wins in 6 or Dallas wins in 7 is kind of what I'm leaning towards. But go Dallas. Go Mavs. Right? I would love Mavs to just sweep Boston, right? Anybody but Boston. But anyway, I wanted to talk about this, right? Because it does pertain to us because, right, we have the tiebreaker with the Boston Celtics. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Are you go Mavs? Do you think Boston's going to win? Again, if you just look at Boston, you're just like, they should win, right? But it doesn't necessarily mean that they will. Again, I think there's some clear advantages on the side of Dallas, but Boston just, the talent is the thing that, like, is this one of those situations where talent just trumps everything, right? Because that's usually how it goes. But again, love to hear your thoughts and opinions. Let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.